Hi everybody! Okay, so in this tutorial I will be showing you how to make note cards. I will also be showing you how to use a mirror feature so that you can create back-to-back type of note cards. I sometimes use these to hold post-its or to write notes on it. So that's one way that I like to use like page markers or note cards. You can also punch holes, so this is not just for a TN. Punch holes in it, and put it in your happy planner or spiral bound or binders. So these are just the different types of notepads. Sometimes I will tuck these into like those Target clear pockets. That's something that you can do. But in the video tutorial, I will show you how to make these. I will also show you how to use the digital files to make Christmas tags or birthday tags, any type of tags. This tag I created a circle cut file so I could add twine or ribbon. On the other tags you can punch a hole or put tape behind it, create it into a sticker, or use washi tape for it. This tag I'm going to show you how to do some different things with some fonts, the colors, and create this nice little note card that you can place in your planner as a beautiful reminder. In this tutorial, I will be showing you how to make some note cards, page markers, and gift tags. So let's start with the easier one, which will be these right here. These page markers, or they can hold they can be note cards. They can hold, a larger one can hold like post-it notes, and these can just be little inserts. So I'm going to move these to the top so that we can see them while we're working on them. Okay, now that I have everything in full view, we can start working. Always remember to have your registration marks set up, and also save your project. Okay, let's get started with, so I'm not sure if you'll be able to notice, but it's very simple. It's a box that we're gonna overlay or import or drag and drop some pattern paper on, and then just overlay a clip art on it. Group it and do the cut file. That's really all there is, except we learned in the text, in the box stickers, how to do this white overlay on there. So it's just combining other techniques that you've learned in previous tutorials. So let's get started. So I'm not going to go through and do exact measurements for these. Everybody has different planners, so it really depends on your preference or your use. And when I design these, I usually just kind of freestyle it, and unless I know for something like this that I want it for my TN, my B6 I mean, then I know that I want to make the width less than maybe a 5, and then the height, I usually would like this more than a 7 so that some of it will peek out. But you know, if you have a pocket, if you have a ring bound, if you have a spiral bound or a happy planner, all of these will be based on what your needs are. So let's get started. We are going to use the drawing tool, and you would either draw a straight rectangle, cornered rectangle, or a rounded corner rectangle. I usually do rounded rectangles. Now, if you know the exact measurement that you would like it, always remember to switch over to your select tool. Now, if you know the exact measurements that you want, we can go into the transform panel, click over to the scale, and here you can make it, maybe you want it 3 by 4, and then click apply. There's your 3 by 4, so that's sort of like a project life card. If you want it for a B6, then maybe you want it 5 by 7 or slightly smaller or slightly larger, but let's just work with a 3 by 4 just to have some clean numbers. I will then lock this and click apply. Okay, so let's change this red line to a blue line just to get into the habit, we'll change that to a blue line. We'll now go to the offset panel and select internal offset, rounded. I'm going to keep it at 0.125, but if you want to make the space between your white overlay and your pattern paper, so in between here, if you want to make that smaller, then just make your number smaller. You want to make it larger, raise your number up. Okay, so that would be 0.235, but like I said, this is a nice space for me, so I'm going to switch this back. Okay, and I'm going to hit apply. Now I'm going to keep that line color. Actually, I want to keep this line color box on here, but I'm going to keep this line color blue. The next step would be let's add in our background paper. Go to where your background paper is. Let's get the gray floral with the red. There we go. Drag that in. Remember, we want to drag that into our last layer, the larger one. There we go. Now I could have made this one white earlier, so I'm gonna click. The way I'm gonna know this is right now the back layer is 3x4, and I should have changed this front layer, the internal offset earlier, so it would have been easier, but I didn't. So this is a good way for you to go. Okay, so now I know I'm on my inner layer because it's 2.751 by, it's smaller than 3x4. So let's go ahead and change that fill color. So select fill panel. We're going to select the first option, which is fill color. Select white and change that transparency to where you're comfortable with. I'm going to leave it at a 17. It's a lucky number for me. Okay, 17, and I'm going to make that pattern in the background larger. So I'm going to go to that pattern, the fill pattern option, click advance, and I'm going to enlarge that scale pattern. And let's see, I'll probably move this. I'll leave that there. Okay, now we can go ahead and grab the clip art for the bow. So let's go back to where our files are, icons. I'm going to look for a bow. Actually, I want the bow clip. I'm going to drag that onto here, making sure that I'm not overwriting any of my images. That looks good. I'll place this on here. Now again, if for some reason when you drag it in or you're working on something and your image is behind and you'd like to bring it front, just click on it, right click, and select bring to front, and there you go. So you can use your mouse to lower this, and sometimes if I'm trying to get precise, I'll actually use the arrow keys for the placement. So right now I'm just using the up, down, left, right arrow keys, and you can place this if you want. Now I'm using the mouse in the middle and size this so you don't have any overhang. You can make it smaller and fit that in using the arrow keys. Or if you'd like a little bit of a peekaboo in your planner on the side, then or create like a tab like this, then you can hang it off on the side. Now, if I want this outside to match the black lines in here, I'm going to select that 3x4 layer. Zoom in. 3x4 layer. Let's close this out. I'm going to go back to my line color. I'm going to select, I'm on the blue layer, so let's select black. Now it's still not going to print because I need to go to the line style and select the thickness. Here you can also select if you want it to be a dotted, more fashion, if you just want to add a little bit more details to it. I'm going to select, I usually select maybe a 1 or a 2, but actually I'm going to select 2 because I know that 2, the thickness of 2 will match the lines in the bow. And then I select 2 and hit enter, and see, that looks pretty comparable to the bow. So let's zoom out. Zoom out one more time. Now you want to group it. Actually, before grouping it, what I would do is I would right click, copy it. You could still group it and right click, copy it. And then I would paste it or duplicate it, but I would throw this on the side and I'll show you why later. So let's group this now. And then I'm going to pull this down a little bit. Let's do our trace line. So that little butterfly icon, open the trace panel, select trace area, highlight over your image, bump the threshold up to 100, and then trace outer edge. Now we need to change that red line to a blue cut line, a blue trace line. So we need to change the red cut line to a blue trace line unless you want it to cut directly or as close as possible to the image and not like this to the left where there's going to be some white space. So that's preference. I like to create a white space. So the next step that I'm going to do is change the line color. Let's close this out. Line color from red. Red is selected right now, so I'm going to select blue, and I'm going to go to the offset, open the offset panel to the right. Oh, it was already open. Okay, so let's click offset, and I'll probably do a 0.50. It really depends on the thickness that you want the white space to be. Click apply and change that to red. So now the red cut line will trace with a white border around your page, either your page marker or your note card. So let's zoom out. Now you'll see here I have several different pattern papers in here. It's the same thing with the box stickers, how we did that. Oops, I forgot to group that. Let's group that. So highlight, right click, group. Now this is a completed one. We'll move that to the side. Highlight this one. What I'm going to do is actually, let's replicate it. To the right. Let's go to the bottom. And then to the left. Okay. The reason why I did that is I'm going to now just drag in the papers. Let's click to where our pattern paper is. Let's drag in this floral, hover over, make sure that we're getting the right layer, slide it to the back layer. Sometimes it just takes a little patience. There we go. Go back to your pattern paper and just keep repeating the steps. We already have this one, so I can override this one. And you can put two different patterns in. You could leave it like this and change the transparency of the background, or make a third layer. You can have two patterns and then a white overlay. It really depends on, you can have fun. Again, endless possibilities. Go back. I haven't used this one, but green bows. Ooh, not like that. There we go. And let's just find one more. I really just wanted to show you how to drag and drop these patterns in, and how you can just, with one template, if you save it on the side, you can have multiple different cards. Okay. And for this one, I would probably make a white overlay, transparency not as dark. So maybe at a 42. It really depends on if the background is really vibrant or dark or rich in colors, how much of the transparency you want. So there you have it right there. With just designing one, you can just drag and drop and create a bunch. So let's move all of these to the side. Now we've made all of these. Let's do the small one, and then I'll show you how to make the lines. Okay? So to make the small one with a bow hanging, oh, it's actually the same technique, except let's draw a rectangle, rounded. Arrow. So from here, because there's no pattern in here, we could pull the top and the side, or the other side and the bottom, to try to get it to be a 3x4 or whatever size you want. Because there's no pattern in here, there's nothing, no image or pattern to distort. Or you can just go straight to your transform panel, select the second option, which is scale, and down here adjust the height and the width to what you would like. Let's see, maybe we'll just keep it as 4. And then change this to a 3. There we go, 3. Lock it and click apply. Oh, what did I do here? Unlock it and change this to a 3. And click apply. There we go. Now I can lock it. Okay, so we want to change this line color. It's a cut line right now. Let's change that to a trace. And then do an internal offset. Okay, and I'm going to keep let's just change this just to be different this time. Let's change it to 0.150. Click apply. Now let's change the inside layer. Let's change the fill to white. You can't see it right now, but when we throw in the background, you will. So let me see. Okay, go to your files where your pattern paper is. Let's use this floral. We'll drag it in, and we would like to drop it on the square. the last layer, the 3x4. I'm going to wait to make sure that it's loaded in the right place. Release my mouse. And then let's change this white overlay, the internal one. There, got it. The transparency for the fill, so we can see some of the floral. I think I'll keep it at a 11. And then I want to go back to the background, the pattern paper layer. I'm going to click on fill pattern, and it's the polka dot option. And I'd like to scale this to be a larger. You can keep it small, any size you want. I am going to pan this over if I want it to be at a different angle. Now, let's go and get the clip art of this floral bowl and the icons. Let's see, the bows are here. Let's find the floral. For some reason my image, it was taking a little while to load. There. Drag this, make sure we're not dragging it and overwriting another image. And if you click on it, remember this green dot on the top? That's how we can rotate it manually. And we'll drop it on here, wherever you want it. We can, now if we're resizing this, because it is an image, remember, pull it from any of the corners or go into your transform panel, make sure it's on lock, and change the height and the width on there. And again, I just think it's easier just to change it by pulling, adjust it by pulling the corners. So it just depends on how large or small you want the bow. And then when you're happy with that, just highlight the image, and I would make a copy and paste it off to the side so that you can reuse this template and just drag and drop a different pattern into this background. You can then move the bow and change the bow, but I am not going to do that. I am going to group it and choose the trace panel. And you're just going to go through the same steps that we have been doing over and over, and because when it becomes repetitive, it'll become second nature for you, natural. So let's bump up the threshold to 100. Trace outer edge. Change that line from red to blue. We need it to be a trace line. Click the offset. We want the offset button. I'm going to change this down so you can also use the arrows. Place it down to 0.050. Click apply. Change that to a red cut line. Change that to a red cut line. And then highlight, right click, group. So now that's created this little note card. Throw that off to the side. Let's start on this note card with the lines on it. Let's go to your drawing tools, select the rounded rectangle, draw a box. Doesn't matter on the size because you can adjust it. Let's go to the transform panel. Click the second option, which will be for scale. Right there, scale. Go down to the bottom. Let's input 5, tab over by 7, enter, and lock and apply. Now this box I'm trying to get it to be 5 by 7, So wait, let's change this. Look, I did not do that. It's a bad habit of mine. Undo and select tool. So let's highlight on this, change the line to blue. Now because I want my box to be a 5 by 7, when we do our offset, let's do a internal offset because I want my box to be 5 by 7, just like how we did the others. So I'm going to keep it at a 0.125, click apply. I was thinking if I wanted to adjust it, but I'll leave it at that. Now let's change that internal box, our white overlay. Let's fill it to white already. Now you could change this to a white line if you wanted to, but I just like to keep it as a blue line so I know that those are all my trace lines. And let's change the transparency to maybe a 22 for now. So we now want to fill our 5 by 7 layer with a pattern. Let's grab this floral, slowly drag and drop it in. There may be an easier way to do these patterns. I just don't want to use the import feature and import it into the library, but if anybody knows an easier way, then please let me know. If I wasn't talking and I had just let go of the mouse, I would have placed it in the right place. So let's drag and drop it, release it. See? I think it's much easier to do, click undo, when you're not distracted and I'm fully focused. So let's drag and drop that. I'm holding onto the mouse and then releasing it when it's placed where I would like it. There we go. I'm going to be patient and release. Okay, so now I'm going to, see, I think I'm going to change this transparency to be a little less. Why not just keep it at 17? Okay, so now I would like to go back to my 5 by 7 layer and change this to be a little larger on the scale, so the pattern to be larger. And then pan it. I think this placement is okay. I don't need to angle it. Now let's go into line color. We're already on this 5 by 7 layer. Let's change the line to black and change the line thickness to 2. You can use the arrows. You can input and enter. So let's enter. So it should be darker now. Okay, so now we need to let's add in our bow first. So let's get our clip art. Let's go to where our files are stored, icons. So if you know you're going to use certain icons, like maybe the girl, the bow, a bow clip, maybe the sweater, the car, the truck, then you can go ahead and just start dragging them and leaving them on the side in a work area so that you don't have to keep going back to your folder. The only one you have to use that is with the pattern paper, but there is another way to do it. I just don't know if you can do it with the basic, so I don't want to show that just yet. So let's get that floral bow. Okay, so let's drag that bow in. Now let's place the bow where we would like it. I think this will be, yeah, we'll just leave it as the sample one. And again, you can use your arrows if you want to be more precise on the placement. Now let's do the lines. We will need some space for this. I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to move these down. So let's now use this line tool select draw line, and we know that it's let's draw it here. I'm not an expert at this, so I kind of just know what I should do. That's not a straight line, right? So let's undo that. View, grid. Okay. I still have my line tool. I'm going to zoom in. Not just for you, but for me. My eyes aren't that good. So I'm going to go from this point and draw my line to this point. Okay, and that's good. I'm going to select tool, highlight, change this to black, change your line style. Now here, this might be where it'll look fun to do maybe like a dotted style, and then change this to a 2 thickness. See? So it's really what you would prefer. Like I always say, I'm going to keep it solid. Now I'm going to take this line, and it is a little more steps, but I do believe it's worth it to customize things so that it's the way that you want it. So I am going to, there's different ways to do this. If you were to duplicate it, they're going to duplicate on top of each other. I believe replicate will work the same way. Let me zoom a little bit in. I believe that's where, see, it's just replicating it. It's duplicating it right there. So what I would do, okay, so I'm going to copy and paste it, leave it here. Now I think if I do it this way, there. Do you see how I did that? I copied, pasted, and then I'm just duplicating it, and I can see here where it's going to be. So let's duplicate one more time below. Okay. So now it looks like it's going to be kind of close. So I am going to I think I'm going to delete one row and then bring this row slightly down. I'm going to highlight all of them and go into my transform panel. I'm going to line it all up to the left. See how they just adjusted to the left. And then I want the vertical spacing to be the same in between all. So it just adjusted it. And now I'm going to, which those lines look like they might be kind of small. Let's just take one more line out. Highlight them all. And it's going to separate it. It's going to align it vertically, the spacing from the top to the last. So that's why I didn't delete the last one. I deleted somewhere in between. Let's click there. That looks a little better. And then let's group it. And then we can put it on here. Now, I don't need to worry where to put it because remember this is a centering tool. And as long as you don't mess with that centering tool on any of your layers, you'll be good. So I'm going to highlight this and these layers and click, actually I don't want to do this centering tool, but let's center it horizontally. So now that looks good. Oh, it's too high. So maybe this is a little too close for you, but you can then just delete that line. So let's ungroup it. Select that. We have to zoom in. Select it. Ungroup it, which I don't really want to do. If I wanted to move it around, it would be harder. But I'm just going to delete that. And you kind of get the idea of how to customize it. So there's how you would make your lines. And if you need this to be a little whiter so that you can write on it, let's go back to the fill color, change that transparency to maybe a 9. There, a little bit easier to write on. And maybe you can change it to maybe not so busy. I'll right click, group it, and then you'd go through where you'd, let's just do that really fast. Let's get rid of those grids. Okay. Go to the trace, select trace area, highlight, threshold 100%, trace outer edge. You could stop here if you just want it to trace, or you can select your red layer, confirm by the line style, change that to blue, and do the offset. Apply and change that to red, and then group it, and then you're done with that. Okay, so let's put that off to the side. To work on the gift tags, I'm going to move all of this off to the side. See some other things. And you could delete these, but I'm going to just keep them over there just in case. These here, I'm going to go ahead and delete so we have a clean workspace for these gift tags. Okay. The gift tags are very easy. It's the same concept. I just wanted to show that you could do things that are not planner, necessarily just planner related with the clip art. I think they're just gorgeous and I would love to use them year round. Let's draw, depending on what size you want the tag. You know how to customize it now. Let's drag in a present. Okay. Let's get this floral with the buffalo check and the moose. Let's bring these in. I know I want to use these, and let's go ahead and bring in all the clip arts that I'm going to want to use. That will save us time. Making sure we're not going to overwrite anything. And the girl. Let's find that girl. I think she's right there. Okay, so let's bring in the girl. Making sure we don't override. Let's move all our clip arts off to the side and make them smaller. And then it'll just be easier when we're ready to use them. Bring the presents. Actually, that's the first one that we're going to use. And the trick of highlighting several at a time and making them smaller. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring in a box. All I do is it's the same thing as when we were making the truck. If you watch that one for the pocket page, just kind of flush it, make it that size, raise it up a little bit depending on how high or low you want it. So let's select the text tool, which is the A on the left, and let's just type in 2 with the colon, and then you can highlight that. Let's go to the right for the text style. Let's click on that and find a font that you like. Let's just use this Lucida calligraphy. Seems to be kind of Christmassy. You can change the size here. Maybe let's change it to maybe a 36. And you can adjust that with the arrows left and right, the corners. So then let's change the line color to black or gray, whatever color, blue, green. And then the fill to black. Now what I would do is, so that I don't have to repeat those steps, is I would just highlight it, copy and paste it, double click on it and retype another word like from. And then we can place it in here wherever you want it to be. Seems we need this to be smaller. I'm doing this so I can keep them the same size. And you can just play around with it. I'm using arrows to kind of place it for more room. And then if you click on this one with your mouse, and then you hold down the shift key and click the 2, and that's how we can use that transform panel and align it to the left. And then I forgot to change this box to blue. We want that to be a trace. Then we can group all of this, move it. And what I would actually do is duplicate this or replicate it to the left. I should ungroup it. I'm going to delete this present, bring this present in. That's literally how easy it is to customize it. Not customize it, but repeat it and change, like put a bow on it. You can change the different colors of the presents. And there you go. And then I'm going to group this one. And then you just go through the, oops, that was a good example to show you that everything was not grouped there. Group, throw this on the side so that I can then do my trace. Where's the butterfly? There we go. I'm only going to show you one of these. So trace it, threshold up to 100, trace outer edge, change that one, that trace line, there, it's red is selected, to blue, and then do your offset. Offset, I'll probably put this at a 050, apply, change that to red, and then group it. Now you have a gift tag, and if you want to punch a hole, or maybe just use adhesive, or make this into a sticker, and you can just stick them on presents, that's your gift tag. Now the other gift tag that we have here, we did this one, I'm not sure why this is even here, shouldn't be. But for this one, all it is, let's see, let's move it over here so you can see it while we're doing it. It's a box. I'm going to change this to select tool, change this to black, the thickness, oops, thickness to 2, enter. And then I can recycle my to and from here if I just ungroup. Let's ungroup this one. Highlight, hold down the shift, highlight, oops, copy paste, drag it onto here. Actually, I need it further in. And you can just put the placement wherever you want. I'm not going to be precise because I'm going to try to just keep showing you how to do this. Let's go back to our papers. Let's grab a paper, drag and drop it into your box. And then of course you can change the transparency. Change the transparency so you can write on here. And you can keep it this small, you can make it larger. And change the direction, whichever way you want it. Okay. And then for this circle, You just go to Drawing Tools, the polygon, just draw anything. After you draw your shape, select tool and pull this down to a 60 so that it creates a nice circle. Let's resize this to however you want your hole to be, and that's going to be where you can put twine or ribbon, and then group this so that if you move it, it'll all move together. Let's go back into your select tool, trace for the trace. In this one, I'm going to not do an offset. I'm just going to have it trace right around it. Trace, and you're done. Group it again. Done for that one. That's how easy it is. Now let's do this last one because I want to show you how to put some fonts into customized fonts. Let's move this off to the side. Let's get another shape. And you can be precise on that. Again, 3 by 4, whatever it is that you prefer. Let's bring the girl in. I think I'll just leave it as that. Okay, so I'm going to change this box to a blue trace line. Actually, I want it to be black. And the thickness to be 2. Enter. And see here, I want the girl to be in front, so let's right click on her, oops, and bring her to the front. Let's grab a background paper. Throw that into the box. I'm gonna just adjust the background layer for the fill pattern, the transparency just slightly, scale a little bit. Okay. And now let's get the text. Let's just type, let's just do good for now. Let's highlight on that. Go to the right and open the text style panel. And this one I used, so you can type in here the text style too, the text, the name of the text. So there's blank script, that's the text that I used. Let's change the line color to, actually, let's just change it to black for now. But that's not the color, that's what I'm going to show you. Black, okay, so let's good, and then tidings of comfort and joy. So now let's format this a little bit better. First thing is, let's go back to the font. Let's justify it to the center, and then let's change the spacing to be a little bit closer, the line spacing. There, I like it right there. So now I'm going to double click in this box, highlight on Good Tidings. Let's zoom in for you. Actually, let me move this whole thing so you can see what I'm going to do. Okay. So click on here, double click, and highlight. I'm going to highlight all the way up except joy. I'm going to go back to my palette for the fill. Remember that eyedropper tool that we used earlier? And go in and select this brown color. And then for joy, I'm going to highlight that. And I'm going to use the eyedropper, and I'm going to select a deep red. Where is it? There. Okay, and it's that easy. Now I can size it down. So that's how you can customize the color of a font to match your project perfectly. And I just size this down and then place it where I want it. Okay. And then let's, oops, let me reduce, zoom out, highlight, group, and then you just keep doing that trace. It's constantly tracing, threshold full at 100, trace outer edge. And this one I would like a slight outline, so let's change the line color. Let's select it first. Change that to blue. Do the offset. Do an offset at 0.50. Enter to apply. Change it to red, and then group, and you're done. That's it. That was very fast, and if you want to put a little hole over here, you can put a circle over here so that you can string, it'll cut on your silhouette to make the hole. That's it. I hope that was helpful. You learned a few new tricks in this one. Thank you.